All right. Hello again. How's it going? This is April the Star Witch, and I'm back to talk about the planets for the week. How's everybody's week been? That full moon was insane. I don't know. It was really chaotic in my life. Um, just a lot of energy going around, a lot of people out and about doing things, and um, saw a few news articles and also drove past a car that was really smashed, like they were going too fast, and that Aries energy with Mars um dispositing it in Scorpio. It was a really quite a dangerous combo. Um yeah. Um Yeah, and the news I had read was that basically there was some bad fatal accident with the motorcycle that was essentially trying to evade cops that weren't even really pursuing the person. So essentially they ran, they put their life at risk for no reason. It's pretty intense energies that we've been going through. And I was just looking at those pieces of news and thinking, wow, that really describes that full moon energy that we just went through. And it's not exactly calmed down yet. No, no. No, because the day after that, we had Mercury square Pluto, and that was just yesterday. So there was a lot of tension between the mind and the fears that are coming up. Yeah, I can see it on people's faces. It's like they don't quite know what's going on. They know that their minds are being messed with. There's a lot of mind games right now because Mercury is in Scorpio and uh, it's inching closer and closer to Mars. And that combo together has really been about a lot of aggression, about like violent news or the kind of violence that gets started with words. Um, yeah, it's pretty intense. Let's get to sharing the chart. Let's see. Hmm, I got my little grid on the side. That's fine. Yeah. In fact, I could just possibly change that. Oh, just a second. Hopefully, come down. Okay, that's more like it. I'm starting off with today, Wednesday, October the 8th, 2025. It's very, very early in the morning. Today we had the moon square Pluto, and then what followed afterward was closely afterwards was the moon opposite Mercury. So, yeah. And that's a fixed T square right here. We've got this. Oh, let's get this out. Yeah, we've got Pluto, Moon, and Mercury all in a T square. And, that's getting our emotions tangled up with this square here. And, it's hard not to feel emotional about all of these words going around about our fears. It's really getting people worked up emotionally. As even if you're not tapped into what's going on in the world and all of our personal lives, there's going to be words and thoughts and the mental realm lining up with fears and emotions because of the moon are rising. And what kind of fears are we facing today? It's a good thing to look at actually, because you don't want that running your life. You don't really want it doing that. And so yeah, we've got Mercury and inching closer and closer to Mars now that they're both in Scorpio. And the thing that's pulling them all together is Black Moon Lilith. So Black Moon Lilith is in between Mercury and Mars right now. And she's, she's about that repressed, the repressed feminine, but anything that's really repressed, pushed down, pushed away, and not dealt with. And she's right there in between Mercury and Mars. And so she's having an effect. And, you know, um, the feelings of rage coming up, they're there for a reason. Is because something has been suppressed for a while. Nobody would be feeling this sense of rage if it was just nothing, right? And Black Moon Lilith is really there describing our rage between what we think and what we do, and it's really quite the setup. So, is anything triggering you mentally into doing something? Um, I can't say that it's not a good idea, especially if it's an aligned action with something that you need to be doing in your life right now, you know. Um, yeah, that combo is like really chaotic and noisy in everybody's heads right now. It's all in your head and out there with like the secrets that are starting to come out and seep through. It's like it's all bursting at the seams. We all feel it. We all feel that it is just the things in the world right now are coming to a head, and this Black Moon Lilith in between Mercury and Mars, while being in Scorpio, is fairly dark place. Um, could describe some of that hopelessness that people are feeling. That is also being influenced by this Saturn and Neptune conjunction, even though they're getting a little bit further apart from each other than they were before. It's still this feeling that maintains like hopelessness, confusion. We don't know where we're going next. With these actually being in a little bit of communication, they're in aspect. Neptune is in aspect with Mercury here and in conjunct. And so it's kind of really uncomfortable, pushy energy, pushing you to the brink of your darkness. And what are you finding there? Shedding light on the darkness isn't a bad thing. It's how you respond to it, you know? Yeah. And so, yeah, the chaos kind of still remains, but there is a little break in this week when we come to it. And let's see, on Thursday, the, the 9th, the moon moves into harmonious aspects with the nodes. The moon is in a trine with the south node and a sextile with the north node. Um, and then, it means that something faded is coming about because of those emotions that were surfacing. So we've got emotions surfacing, and we've got this certain way of feeling that starts happening, Wednesday today. And then it moves into Thursday where, um, we've got this harmonious aspect with the nodes, but then we're also looking at Black Moon Lilith and Mercury coming into more of an exact conjunction. And so even though the moon is harmoniously interacting with the nodes are faded. And so whatever is happening due to this interaction with the nodes, it might have something to do with this uh repression, what we were trying to sort of peel open as far as the darkness is concerned. Kind of peeking into the darkness, whether you're the type that just like peeks a little bit and that's all you can handle, or if you want to just throw that door wide open and say, just show me what is there. These are going to be good times to really start learning how to tap into paying attention to what the darkness is showing you, telling you. There's always something that is, you know, uh, And the darkness opens wider for us to take a look into it, it's because we're ready to do that. And that, I can't really, I, I, I don't see it many other ways because it's just very, very dark times like lately. I know that we're all feeling it. A lot of people feel like they don't know where the world's going. Obviously, obviously we're at end times, right? That's what it feels like. I have my kombucha here. I love this stuff. The Unity is so yummy. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about for Thursday? Because there's an uncomfortable, let's see, an awkward inconjunct between Venus and Chiron and Eris. Oh, my writer. Venus and Chiron and Eris. They're in an inconjunct, and it's quite awkward because energy of Eris is really influencing this inconjunct, really influencing how Chiron feels and is being experienced right now. And Eris is the goddess of discord, and she's really pushy, very, very pushy energy. And so we've got Mars being fairly pushy over here in Scorpio in his traditional home. Um, and we've got Eris over here in an inconjunct with Venus. And it reminds me definitely of that story of the golden apple, where she threw it at the feet of all the different goddesses and said, well, who is the fairest, right? Who is the best? And it started a war. Started a war because of this feeling that everybody had that like they needed to prove themselves. And it's interesting seeing Venus in Virgo there as she is separating from the South Node. She might be feeling a little bit unworthy, and she might be feeling that urge to um, justify her existence in that inconjunct, especially with Eris, like goading and prodding the idea that Venus feels worthless right now. And it's really because of that South Node and the inconjunct between Eris and Chiron is sort of like taking advantage of that. Um, so yeah, if you're dealing with feelings of unworthiness, and understand that a lot of people are going through that right now because of this energy, and everybody's really just trying to figure that out on a personal level. And on the world stage, you can see this playing out too. What is worthy? What is unworthy? Everything is changing value so rapidly because technology and um, all of the progress that we've made has really shifted what is valuable. Um, but I think that a big part of that feeling right now is that South Node Venus coming away from the south node right there. Mm, And yes, and on that day, the moon makes a trine with Venus also. So a little bit later on, clear my jaw. So just a little bit later on, we've got the moon and a trine with Venus. And it might be what we're all needing after kind of going through it all day long on Thursday. So Venus and the moon being in a trine as the day um, shifts into the night. Um, it's like afternoon when this happens, and then the intensity of that feeling, of that sort of unworthiness, will subside as long as you didn't get too deep down that rabbit hole. And try not to let it take you over so that you can come away from it once the moon passes um, through trining with Venus, because that will be a nice moment. Yeah. And as we're uh, going through the day, we've got the moon moving into Gemini right after that, right as Uranus moves back into 0 degrees Gemini. So Uranus has been retrograde and it was at 1 degree, and now, right as the moon comes in, it is Uranus moves back that 1 degree into 0. So we've got the moon and Uranus at 0 degrees Gemini, uh, late night, late night on Thursday. Yeah. Which it'll, bring up that energy and that intensity again. The moon joins that little mini trine um, between Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And that's the rabbit hole that we're going down that night. That's what's happening. Because as the moon conjuncts with Uranus, it will be trining with Pluto. So that trine right here between these and this Pluto, and bringing up fears again, in probably unexpected ways. When Uranus is involved, you can't always make predictions about Uranus, because the whole point to Uranus is to be unexpected, unpredictable, unprecedented, something that, hasn't ever happened before. And every time the moon crosses over Uranus, and Uranus is the ruler now of Pluto, because Pluto's in Aquarius, Uranus rules Aquarius. And there's something special that is potential. There is a potential for something unexpected to pop up. And that's gonna be like late at night and going into the morning from Thursday to Friday. Yeah. And then, so Friday is really when the energy starts coming up again. The energies calm down a little bit while the moon is in Taurus, but once the moon goes back into when it goes into Gemini, there's a lot of stuff happening again. It just picks right back up because the dispositor of the moon being in Gemini is going to be Mercury in Scorpio. And that Mercury in Scorpio is going to be messing with our minds for a while as it gets closer and closer to Mars. And we feel this merging between the need to do something over what we're thinking. It just becomes more and more of an urgency, maybe an obsession. So if you find yourself feeling obsessive during this time, this is why. And investigating that obsession instead of doing something over that obsession will be a much healthier way to take care of it and to resolve it. Um, I always advocate for doing something creative with chaotic energy. Find a different way to express it other than what is just like chaotically pulling at you. We are conscious creatures, right? And astrology is teaching us how to take conscious steps because we're being forewarned by the symbols. And so Mercury and keeping up with to what keeping up with Mars, getting up to speed with Mars in Scorpio. mm, it's gonna be quick, fast, thought, um, thought, and then do. So we're gonna have to really stay on top of our consciousness. Is this a good time to really look at what is coming up right now? It's always going to be like that, but right now, especially because of all of that stuff in Scorpio. And we'll be moving into Scorpio season. We're like halfway through Libra season. So we'll be getting there soon enough where the sun comes in. Mercury is going to be going retrograde back into Scorpio in November. It's not going to end. And so it's a good time to just start telling yourself that if you feel a little bit of an obsession, why? And just keep asking yourself why. You know, with the moon in Gemini, it's a good time to be curious. Right? So Thursday, get curious about stuff. Friday, stay curious. Stay curious. Try not to obsess. Um, oh, yeah. Move into Friday morning. And Black Moon Lilith in a square with Pluto because she's moving backwards. And Pluto's moving backwards. And so they're locked into that square, Black Moon Lilith and Pluto. And Black Moon Lilith is in the sign that Pluto rules. Pluto rules Scorpio. So they're really having an intense conversation about fear, repression, oppression, rage, uh, isolation. When the theme of isolation comes up, that's when you know that you're starting to get to that vulnerable point. And when you stay with that and you get vulnerable and try to stay humble with what is going on in your head, um, you might be able to uncover some of the reasons why you feel like lashing out irrationally. Yeah. Friday's gonna be kind of intense. We've got um we've got Jupiter in a square with Chiron and Eris. So let's go back and do that, both of them. Chiron and Eris in a square. So it's going to expand our wounds. And this is where, as part of the story of where we're digging into what those fears are. uh, The wounds are going to be attached to that. And Jupiter's going to be opening that wound, making it bigger. Because Jupiter is a good planet, yes. But everything that happens with Jupiter brings greater meaning. And so, as Jupiter opens up that wound, it's probably going to be about family, ancestry, because Jupiter is in Cancer, sign of home and family. And with Eris involved, there'll be an element of like feeling left out, or maybe just feeling like that black sheep, like why don't I fit in with my family? Yeah, that'll be some of the things coming up. And obviously, the fear when you feel like you don't fit in with your family is one of survival, right? You feel like it makes it harder to survive if you don't have your family support. And that can be a huge trigger for people to want to, they start accessing their rage through that discovery alone, that they don't feel like their family is there for them. And it just creates a lot of anger, a lot. So these wounds are coming up for everybody. And think about what's going on in the world, right? With these wounds, ancestral wounds. I mean, I can't believe some of the things that are being discussed on the world stage. Like with the stuff with Israel and, of course, Gaza. But Israel, um, uh, some of the things that have been said are just very like opening that wound again, right? Because everybody has wounds around why Israel is where it is right now. It's because they were persecuted and killed and pushed into the position of finding a new homeland, which was the original homeland. And for somebody who knew nothing about it originally, it's really confusing on the outside. But what I can see clearly is ancestral triggering, the triggering of the wounds of the past and having to do with ancestry and where you feel like you come from, where you feel like your homeland is, or where your homeland was. Um, it's that and this square between Jupiter and Chiron and Eris is going to stay there for a while. Because when Jupiter goes retrograde, it'll be going retrograde at the exact degree that Chiron and Eris are at right now, at 25 degrees. Jupiter will make it to 25 degrees and then go retrograde. So it's going to be there for a while, just locked in. So this theme, it's already huge, but it's going to get bigger, and we're going to see a lot more come out of it. Home, ancestry, and wounding, and who's better, right? Who's the best? Who's better? Who's prettier? Who's wiser? Who's stronger? Who's mightier? Yeah, it's uh, it's bound to get more interesting. I know that, but I'm saying this from a place of being really far away from all of that conflict currently. I honestly couldn't imagine what it would be like going through that and being over in a war-torn area. So, and I believe that for a lot of places on Earth, that Jupiter locked into that square with Chiron and Eris is really about how they've been living in a war-torn area for a long time. When are they gonna finally get their home back, if ever? And it's something that we should all feel for. And while Jupiter is in this position right here, Jupiter's in a sextile with Venus, this Venus that's feeling unworthy and kind of a little bit useless, and having come away from the South Node, um, having learned some big lessons about what value truly is. Because I think that most of us would agree that we all value peace more than anything. And that's something that's really, really hard to sell out there right now. And so, yeah. So Friday. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of energy is going into that. Um, not only just this Jupiter and Chiron and Eris, but also the Black Moon Lilith and Pluto being in that square too. There's a lot of energy going into that. And Saturday. Saturday is when the energy shifts again. You kind of downshift late, late at night when the moon goes into Cancer, finally uh, coming home for a little stay and having Jupiter there. Jupiter's nice to have in Cancer. Well, yeah, okay. So we've got, I'm just going over my notes a little. So we've got Venus that is opposing Saturn. Just push it forward just a little bit. There we go. Top and bottom here. The Venus opposing Saturn. And that's going to feel like we're lacking um or holding back love and trust. We're going to be holding back on that because our Venus, our live Venus in the sky, she's feeling wounded. She's feeling a little bit down after having that South Node encounter, and now she's in an opposition with Saturn, and it's like, oh, I don't know who I can trust. I don't know who I can love. It's a dull spot. It'll pass, but it is a dull spot. And we'll be looking at issues, worldwide. Financial aid probably will become a theme, an issue. Something will come up about that. Um, the whole time that Mercury is in Scorpio, I believe that there's going to be news coming out that is about secret stuff. And, we've seen a lot of this stuff come out with Doge going into the financial things and exposing stuff. Uh, But I believe that's going to have a resurgence because with the government shutdown, and who knows how long that's gonna last. Hopefully not too long, but like who knows what the plan is with this. Because I'm not for or against the president. I am playing a neutral person as much as possible. As much as possible. Because we have to maintain a sense of consciousness with all this stuff going on. Mm. And unity. Unity. Because really, right now, if the powers that be had it the way that they wanted it, we would all be fighting each other in the streets, like worse than we already are. I think we all know that and feel that. We understand that to some point. Some of us do. Hopefully, enough of us so that we can not just absent-mindedly and obliviously be led to another civil war with each other. It's completely unnecessary. And it'll only be because we're confused, right? Again, staying conscious will be like staying on top of things. And when the news comes out, while Mercury is in Scorpio, um, and next to all these different players, as the news comes out and is telling us things about secrets that had been hidden, um, we can't let it drown us in a confusion. We have to keep our heads above water, and that's why I say stay curious. Just stay curious. With the moon in Gemini, it's a good time to laugh things off as much as possible and just try not to get too serious about the things that are, um, because there's definitely time to be serious. So we need a little bit of we're always gonna need a break. Our hearts are always gonna need a break from all of this madness. Because as I'm reading the charts every week, I see all this chaos playing out. But we have to choose those moments to break it up. We have to break up that seriousness because it's really bad for our health otherwise. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I track the moon is for my health. Because when I know what sign the moon is in and what aspects the moon is making, it really helps me ground my emotions, see what kind of emotions I should be reaching for. And when the moon is in Gemini, which is my natal placement, actually, and I know that basically the answer is to laugh, watch a comedy, there's nothing wrong with getting the break that you know you need, right? And with all the heavy stuff that is coming out, turning off the news might be a good idea. That might be the action that you really need to take. Yeah. It's turn it off for like a day because if anything important happens, somebody will tell you about it. That's just how it works. Everybody's so connected. It's okay. It's safe to turn it off for a day. As the as the day goes by, the moon kind of quickly goes through Gemini, and at the end of the night, which the end of the day on Saturday. The day on Saturday, the moon goes into Cancer. Right here because we're still going to talk about Saturday for a quick minute. Because on Saturday, yes, that's what it is. On Saturday, one last thing is that Black Moon Lilith will be retrograding back into Libra. So the sense of oppression, that oppressed feminine, is coming back into the realm of Libra, back into the realm of relationships, and she is making an opposition to Chiron and Eris. And so we see that these wounds are we're really pushing it with regards to feeling that rage. And that's another reason why I said try to get some laughter in, right? Try to get some laughter in because these energies are super heavy. They're coming over us. And then Sunday, when the moon moves into Cancer, uh, the moon will be in like a square to Venus. Um, you know, it's out of sign, so but it's just gonna be a kind of a weird feeling where you're accessing that feeling of Venus, um, sort of gaining momentum and a little bit of strength back after the South Node business. Because Venus in Venus in Virgo, even though it's kind of weak, right? Um, there are there are things to notice about our values in Virgo. We do value cleanliness, don't we? Because otherwise, disease, otherwise it's not pretty, it's not cool, it's not healthy. Um, and so it's one of the very simple, plain things about Venus and Virgo is really just the sense of cleanliness that brings a sense of comfort. And as Venus is in wrapping up her time in Virgo, that's one of the ways that we're gonna start feeling better is by getting a little bit of cleanup going again. Um, we're past Virgo season, but this last bit of Venus and Virgo is gonna really, we may not be consciously inspired to clean up, but that'll be the thing, or unconsciously, we may not be inspired to clean up, but taking that conscious route and going, it is a bit of a mess around here. Okay. Moon is in Cancer. That's a great time to focus on the home and to just like settle into what that feels like. How does your home feel? Well, it should probably feel comfortable and safe. And if it doesn't, then how can you get there? What do you need to do to get that feeling? Right? Because that square is going to be a bit of a push. Yeah. And the moon coming into Cancer brings an inconjunct with Pluto, which is always kind of uncomfortable. And so there's that, again, checking in with how your home feels. How does your home feel with the moon in Cancer? And Jupiter is here to help with that. Yeah. Mm, Sunday. Early Sunday. Right, yeah. So it's a good time to make plans for self-care, obviously. Take a bath. Um, you know, the moon in Cancer, coming into a conjunction with Jupiter. Jupiter's going to be feeling all those feelings of, the wound opening up and um, slipping into a nice hot bath to wash away whatever it is that's coming up. Water is so healing. And we have to really create that space for healing in the water while we're going through such chaos. There's a lot of chaos, right? And what are you going to do to take care of yourself? Sunday is really calling for that. Sunday is like, it's usually a day where people can stay home. I have to work on Sundays. And Sundays are usually super busy at work, but um, that's just how it is in my life. Maybe you can relax though. Maybe you can take a bath and enjoy the moon and Cancer vibes. Yeah, because it's gonna get crazy again. So it's just really good times. Take that moon and Cancer. Take it seriously. Take some time to slow down. Um, this the stuff that has been brewing in the world that is going to start taking shape, and um, there's nothing really personally that you can do about it. So what can you do? You can take care of yourself so that you're as healthy, as strong as you can be for whatever the world um, puts on you, right? What else? Sunday. The Mars is starting to interact with the nodes, where we've got Mars in a trine with the North Node. That's interesting. So something fated is coming about Mars being here and moving forward. Um, well, that's interesting. Because Mars and Scorpio is really deep and transformational. It's the action, the act of transformation. Mhm. It's interesting because Neptune is the ruler of that North Node, and Mars is the ruler of that Neptune. So it just seems like something very interesting is going to come about that. When the North Node is involved, there's something moving us forward, evolutionary. Our evolution is moving forward. And I know that a lot of times people study patterns in history with regards to astrology and say that these things are going to be happening again because of the astrology that we're under and experiencing. But those nodes are always moving that goalpost forward with our evolution. And so this moment in time, we can see there's something that's going to be pushed forward. It has to do with our evolution and deep evolution. Yeah. Maybe it'll have something to do with our intuition. And maybe there will be like an upgrade to our intuition. That would be interesting. Because I don't know about you out there that are listening to this, if anybody. But my intuition has been getting stronger lately, and I haven't quite seen in the charts why, really, but until just now. I'm just kind of looking over this interaction here between, Mars and the North Node, because this Neptune and the Neptune and Saturn together, and how they'll be going back into Aries together next year is really interesting. Got something coming up soon. Mhm. But yeah, this Neptune in Aries is really influencing people. Um, and I was wondering, is this Neptune in Aries, even though a lot of people may be experiencing confusion, is it really, are we experiencing an upgrade with our intuition? Maybe. I suppose it just depends on how receptive and how much you surrender to the moment. And so if you try to control it too much, it's just probably not going to work very well because that's not how intuition works. It's really interesting. Yeah. Hmm. So then Monday, let's go day Monday, early Monday. The moon trines Mars. Yeah, moon trines Mars. And even though moon is in Cancer, that trine to Mars, it's harmonious, right? It's harmonious. And maybe after getting some of that self-care in on Sunday, maybe we'll feel a sense of being revived and refreshed. And that's accessing that Mars in a trine, even though it's in Scorpio. But that could be, it's still a good thing. Because when we see all of these things as on the good side instead of the bad side, Mars in Scorpio is very good and with passion and with um, can bring a sense of feeling powerful and mastery. Mastery is, uh, when we're dealing with our emotions and with the moon, our emotions, and Mars, our passion. Um, Mastery, that is a good thing to start practicing. Not that we can master our emotions, like control them, but more in this intuitive way. And um, using this aspect for good instead of just let make you feel bad, and setting yourself up the day before by giving yourself self-care and slowing down and taking care of yourself and taking um taking a good look at what your home feels like and looks like, and it's all going to set you up for a better experience when this trine comes through, because it can be really useful, the trine between the moon and Mars. Yeah. Oh, yes. Monday, Venus will be coming into Libra and she'll be activating that air trine again. She is. So here she is activating the air trine. Grand air trine between, you know, Venus, Pluto, and Uranus. And Venus is going to be regaining her sense of power back in Libra. It's like it's all better now. And she seems to be the one who is wielding the power in this grand trine this time. And as she moves into Libra, Pluto is stationing to go direct, which is very nice. But also a point to where Pluto is very, very powerful. So I believe that Venus will be harnessing that power as long as we're setting ourselves up correctly, right? We're setting ourselves up for a good Monday by taking care of ourselves and our home and all of our things that we need to get in order so that on Monday, when this grand trine is activated and that sense of everything starting to speed up again starts happening, you'll be like, oh, at least I got that rest. And the moon and Jupiter are conjunct over here, and they'll be having a nice time, um, or not, but emotions will be expanded. Emotions will be bigger. And so if you set yourself up for having a good cry, then there's that. Or if you set yourself up for having one of those really, really big, ugly cries, because you didn't take care of yourself and everything is so overwhelming, that could be what's in store also. But it's a turning point no matter what, right? You're feeling that much overwhelm and that much emotion. Um, After you have your big ugly cry, you're going to be making plans to change things, right? But you'll be sort of behind the game if you aren't in that space, realizing that you needed to take care of yourself. And then when these energies come, you're more prepared for that big, overwhelming, it won't be overwhelming. That's the thing. As you set yourself up properly, um, for having a nice day of where your big emotions aren't so crushing, right? Because sometimes having big emotions isn't a bad thing. Sometimes it's like the heart swelling so big you think it's gonna burst out of your body because it's just such a good moment, right? You could be setting yourselves up for that really awesome feeling with the moon and Jupiter coming together. So, and that's, Monday evening, that'll be happening. And yeah, so Pluto will be stationing direct after being going retrograde for a while. It's not going back into Capricorn, but um, so yeah, we'll be dealing with these themes from here on out. These Aquarian themes. And uh, you know, um, Pluto stationing direct, it's going to uh, something may happen, because there's this grand trine happening. So there may be just this big thing happening. Um, you know, and the element of air. I'm not gonna get crazy with predictions because I know that some people are going crazy with these predictions lately, like aliens and stuff, and I don't see that because I think we're the aliens. Uh, but yeah, so something big in the air. Yeah. And we have Venus in opposition with Neptune going on there too. Wow, there's a lot of activity happening on Monday. It really picks back up after the weekend. And there could be more confusion around our values or um a creative answer to our financial problems. Because um finances are part of our value system. And there's been all kinds of stuff going on there in the world. And so it'll be interesting when we come to Monday. Um, what, gets thrown up into the air and what comes down, what sticks. Yeah, it'll be interesting because I think that we'll be seeing things happen with regards to the financial industry. And Tuesday, we, you know, we've got the sun and Black Moon Lilith getting closer and closer to each other. That'll be more of a feature of next week. But that is bringing that Black Moon Lilith energy back into relationships. Um, we're gonna start seeing the cracks. We'll start seeing the things that don't necessarily align because we're getting ready to um, some people are getting ready to separate and go their own ways. Um, it's not it's not a fun time, but the wounds are involved because Chiron and Eris are involved with that. Um, they'll be right there in opposition. Yeah, and the moon going into Leo for Tuesday is just gonna, start up that feeling like everything's going super fast again. And as that happens, the moon will be in opposition to Pluto, right as the moon comes into Leo. And we'll be seeing like a tug of war between the collective and our sense of individual expression. Yeah, there'll be which side do I go and join that group of people over there? Which when Pluto is in Aquarius, I don't think that's not necessarily the answer. The answer is to basically try to stand on the other side as much as possible for the balance of maintaining your self-expression, maintaining your essence of yourself, who you are that makes you different from other people, because that's that axis right there between Leo and Aquarius. That axis is being activated, and you're gonna be feeling that push and pull, do I do the things that I'm supposed to do in order to fit in with the collective? Or do I do the crazy thing that makes me stand out and like a rock star, right? That's the moon in Leo is like that rock star energy. And so don't be surprised if you're feeling the need to step away from the collective and find out what your own special talents are, or at least just express them, because you probably know what your talents are. If you don't, then you'll be looking into that. But if you do, it'll be a really good time to focus on that, because as we've got wounds coming up, we can really channel all of that energy into our creative self-expression. And that'll be one of the main things that we start riding into is how do we maintain creative expression while technology seems to be stripping everything of that individual expression? Because even though it seems like people are being individuals, they're really just like lining up to fit in with the collective, with Pluto being in Aquarius. So Pluto and Aquarius is like everybody must fit in, kind of be the same, and we're all gonna share all the same stuff. Yeah. And that is a breaking point for some people. It really is like an opening to like, wait a minute, I don't want to lose my sense of self. And that's what this moon in Leo opposing that Pluto in Aquarius is going to be bringing up. Don't lose yourself in the crowd. You're not going to want to. It's just how it's going to feel. All right. Well, this video has gone a lot longer than I thought because I made a bunch more notes and I just wanted to make sure that I covered a bunch of stuff because it's getting really active, super active. It just, it'll be fun going through the next few months. The end of the year is going to be really intense. We're going to be going through some intense times. But I'm here to try to show you the little moments in between and how to tap into that so that it's not all just like just sliding into the chaos. Because, like I said, we're conscious people, conscious creatures. And astrology is about that consciousness, staying conscious. All right. Well, I hope everybody has a nice week, and I'll be back next week to talk more about the planets. And yeah, I'll catch you later. Bye.